welcome to the Void Arcade. I'm your host, Brando Calrissian, and in today's deep dive, we're going to be talking about Death Stranding. It's more of a celebratory gesture towards the release of the director's cut. I thought I would come and share my thoughts about the franchise and what I think about it, because I am in what I might consider to be the minority of people who largely enjoy Death Stranding. I bought the game on PS4, I played 40 hours, and then I bought the game on PC, and I played 80 hours and got the Platinum Trophy. So, I've got a lot of opinions. I think my opinion counts for something. Even though I might have completed this game a few long months ago, I think that this will be good to share with everybody. So, Death Stranding was developed by Kojima Productions, designed by Hideo Kojima, known for such titles as Metal Gear Solid. Also did Silent Hill, and he also had that PT trailer, and a few other things, of course. Death Stranding has won some awards, including an award for Best Performance, done by Mads Mikkelsen as Cliff. At the time of release, it got a 7 out of 10 on IGN, apparently. So I think that was pretty across the board, 70%. And it was released November 8, 2019. I played through it at launch then, and then when it released on PC about a year or a half year later, in July, that's when I played it again. Really incredible game, honestly, in my opinion. We'll get into the gameplay. I think this podcast will be more for people who might not be interested in Death Stranding, or who might not understand the Death Stranding appeal, is kind of where my thoughts are going to go towards. And so to that end, instead of going right into the gameplay, I think I'm going to talk more about the story, because the story is probably one of the most unique components that people might not think about a lot. It's going to be kind of brief, though. I don't want to spend too much time, because there is a lot of story. When I played through the first time, 40 hours, that was me going as fast as I could. As fast as I could through the game. 40 hours. So, we won't get to all the story, but pretty much so. Death Stranding, game opens up, and they teach you that this is a post-apocalyptic world. There's been some things going on that have split up the nations of the world. There's been what they call an extinction event that have decimated the land, humanity. So there's just little pockets of humanity everywhere now. And there's some very strange paranormal things that are going on. We have these kind of ghost-like entities called BTs that if they come in contact with a human being, they will cause a pretty massive explosion. It'll take out an entire town. They call it a void out. When you supposedly get antimatter and matter together, big explosion, that's kind of what a void out is, when these BTs contact a living person. So pretty crazy stuff, and that's one of the reasons why we're living in this post-apocalypse. Main character's name is Sam, and he has a special condition that few people have, and it can vary. There's like a spectrum of how much people have of this. It's called dooms. And dooms is kind of like a little tickle on the back of your neck whenever you're around a BT. So these dooms people are very valuable in transporting goods, because they can kind of sense, okay, we're entering BT territory, that sort of thing. For people that do not have dooms, we have these BB pods, right? These baby pods. You've probably seen them. Norman Reedus and the Fantastic Fetus, as I believe that was coined by the great philosopher Jacksepticeye. The fetus in the pod. The way that these work, so we have the child, which is wirelessly connected to its birth mother. Okay, they remove the fetus from the birth mother, and then the birth mother is killed. And the reason they do this in universe is because these BTs have a connection to death and to the other side. And so by killing the mother of these fetuses, the child has a connection to the other side, to death. And so the BBs, so there's BTs and BBs, right? I could just call them fetuses or babies. So these babies, put in these pods, they're connected to a robot arm, and when the baby senses a BT, the robot arm will like flash and stuff. And so humanity's been getting by like that for quite some time now. And so you play as Sam, and Sam's got dooms. We've been through this. There's a couple of cities. Sam is he's a private deliverer. He'll take packages from city to city, whatever. He uses his dooms to kind of get by. One of the jobs Sam gets is he's to deliver some medical supplies to the President Bridget Strand. And she's all like, hey, listen, we want to bring all the cities of America back together into one country. We're named Bridges. We're making bridges, and that's our name. We're Bridges. We want you to be Bridges, too. And he's like, I don't know about that. Anyway, then the president kind of dies. And by kind of, I mean definitely dies. And so your next mission is to take her to her body to this incinerator. Man, I got to speed this up. We're going to be here all day. So you take the body of the president, the incinerator, whatever. And then Sam's like, I don't really want to do this whole Bridges thing. But the president's daughter is Amelie. And Amelie, Sam likes a lot. Sam likes Amelie. And she's been doing the job that the president wanted Sam to do. She's doing a little bit of that. So Sam is all like, Amelie. And then they're like, Amelie is in trouble. She's been captured by terrorists. And then Sam's like, uh-oh, captured by terrorists. Can't have that. So he kind of does this, dare I say, Mario-type adventure where you have to go save Amelie. So he reluctantly agrees to go after Amelie and to do this connection thing. He's pretty much connecting all these people to the internet is what he's doing. And that's adding everyone to the country, I guess. So you'll make it to a station and you'll be like, hey, you want to join the country? United Cities of America? UCA? And they'll either be like, yeah, or they'll be like, nah, dude, you weird. And then you'll have to deliver some packages and they'll be like, all right, I'd like to be connected to the internet. And the internet's called the chiral network, which is another side effect of all this Armageddon type stuff, BT type stuff, is this chiral energy. It's kind of weirdy. But anyway, so that's the majority of the whole game. Got a couple side plots along the way, of course. So these terrorists, they're called mules. And they are, they got opinions about things, They do stuff. And there's a couple of mules, one of them in particular, played by Troy Baker. Very good. His name's Higgs, like Higgs boson. He's kind of devil's advocate. He wants destruction to happen. He wants everywhere to be voided out. He wants life to start anew. He thinks that the old world should be done away with, and that there should be a few people selected to just start the world all over again. And you don't really understand why, but he's got these crazy powers. They can bring these BTs, special BTs, like these lion BTs, and they got like laser beams. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. But he's got these powers, and he sicks them on Sam to kind of try and stop you from connecting people to the network and to the country. Higgs is pretty cool, though. I like Higgs. Fragile is absolutely my least favorite character. I do not like Fragile. Her story is kind of interesting. So she's in this city, and Higgs, and she's in there's a bunch of different delivery companies, right? And so her dad has one called Fragile Express, however you want to say it. And Higgs, the terrorist guy, he doesn't like that. And so he kind of shoves her out into this rain. The rain, for some reason, makes things old. It ages things a lot, like considerably. It's a big game mechanic, but in universe, I don't quite understand it. Makes things old. Anyways, Higgs pushes this fragile character out in the rain, and then she gets an old woman body because she gets rained on. Anyway, it's kind of crazy. But you talk to her, and you take over pretty much her business. She's kind of okay. I guess she's okay with it. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But she always uses this line, and this is the only thing I remember about her all the time, is that she's like, I am fragile. Because her name's Fragile. But I'm not that fragile. Because, yeah. And I'm like, man, that is just the cheesiest line. And it's not that they just use it once or twice or 3 times. It's almost every encounter. She's like, I'm fragile, but I'm not that fragile. And you're like, man, I wish they would stop using this line. This is a very cheesy line. Anyway, it's crazy. So Sam has dooms. It's not recommended if you have dooms to connect to a BB pod, because the BBs can sense the BTs, right? The ghosts. The babies can sense the ghosts. And if you already have dooms, that gives you, little neck tinglies of when the BB, gosh dang it, the BTs are nearby. It's not recommended you connect to a BB pod. But Sam does that anyway, right? You get one of those BB units in the beginning of the game. And as a consequence of that, you see from the baby's perspective these cutscenes of Mads Mikkelsen playing Cliff. And Cliff is such just a good character. He plays the role so well. And so Cliff is the BB pod's dad, right? And he comes in to visit the mother. This is before the BB was removed from the facility. So Cliff, he has little interactions with his dead wife, more or less, is what's going on. Or she's like partially dead. So those are fun little scenes to see. Later, he shows up as a enemy. It's like a boss fight. Cliff does. And he'll be like, where's my BB? Where's my BB? And he'll be like shooting you in this crazy war zone. There's so much that literally does not make sense. There's no way I can cover all this. Cliff's a good character, though. It's a good character. Oh, yeah, that's right. So the way that happens is you're just, like, coming out of a facility one day with, like, your packages or whatever, and then there's this tornado, and you get sucked in, and it takes you to pretty much the Vietnam War. I'm pretty sure it's World War I, World War II in Vietnam or something. Something to that effect. And because there's 3 different times you have to fight Cliff in these battle zones. You get sucked in by a tornado. And then all of a sudden it's some war that's happened. In the universe, they say when you die, you go to your beach. There's one beach for everybody. They theorize there's one character, Dead Man. Or no, not Dead Man. It's Heartman. Everyone's named Man. Hartman, he's like, he lost his family, and so what he'll do is he gives himself cardiac arrest every few minutes, and he'll die, and then he'll get resuscitated. But his whole shtick is his family died. He saw them on a beach once. I think it was at the time of one of the extinction events, one of the void outs, and he lived for some reason. So he dies, and he's trying to find if his family is somewhere on his beach somewhere, because he saw them at the first beach that first time, and then he got resuscitated, and then he went anyway. So it's theorized these beaches are connected, and when you go to these war zone places, it's like they really are connected. But usually beaches are actual beaches. But sometimes beaches are like they're locations after somebody died. Jeez. There's so much going on here. Guillermo del Toro shows up, and he's like, hey, the vice presidents might be kind of crazy. I like Dead Man as a character. He's kind of relatable. I think he says a few lines that I was like, yeah, that's cool. But he gives some upgrades, and he'll be like, hey, the BB unit's doing pretty good, or it's not doing so good. Wow, there's so much to go through. So anyway, you connect all these places, you keep connecting places, whatever. You have encounters with the terrorists. They'll try and steal packages, you'll steal packages back. There's a lot of missions about that. And this whole time you're kind of chasing down Higgs, because Higgs is the leader of the terrorists that took Amelie, so you're chasing Amelie and Higgs and the terrorists. So eventually Higgs is like, you want Amelie, you got her. She's here in this city, and so you go out and you fight this huge BT. Huge. You fight it. Spoiler for the next, let's say, 15, 20 seconds here. Yeah, Amelie is apparently, like, and she's not human. And you're like, what? And it's like, she's got these otherworldly powers, and she's actually on the terrorist side, even though the whole game she's acting like she wasn't on the terrorist side. But she was like the leader of the terrorists, even though you thought Higgs was the leader of the terrorists. Crazy stuff. Crazy. The story. It's just breathtaking how much I can't explain, because it's new IP, new ideas. And hopefully, like, some of this is coming across that way instead of, man, there's no cohesive ideas in this game at all. There is cohesive ideas. It's just that it's so new that it's hard to explain and even understand. To some degree, I don't even understand what's going on. That's kind of the general story. You're Sam. Sam's tasked with connecting the cities of America into a single country, giving everyone the internet, more or less. And the internet also acts as like a 3D printer. You can 3D print from thin air. Pretty cool. That's how you make some stuff. And that's more or less the gist of the whole thing. I did like most of the characters. Like I said, Fragile, she can get out. I don't appreciate Fragile as a character. Amelie is a okay character. She's the one I have the next character I have the most problems with. And by most, I mean I'm just kind of annoyed. Especially, there's one line that I will never, ever get out of my head, and we'll go over that more later. But in general, the characters are written super well. They're relatable. They feel like humans. They're pretty good. General gameplay. You go, there's facilities dotted throughout the land. You'll go into one, it'll be like, hey, this place over here, it needs X amount of materials, or it needs this many things, and you have to be like, all right. And from there, you prepare. Are you gonna put these materials on a bike? Are you gonna hoof it with your feet? Are you gonna wear exoskeleton legs so you can carry more weight? But if you wear exoskeleton legs, you can't wear the speed legs. Or if you wear those legs, then you can't attach packages to your legs. So each delivery, you have to think about where you're going. You'll look at the mini-map, you'll plot your route, you'll look at the weather data, you'll think, okay, because that timefall, remember earlier, I was like, it ages stuff. It ages packages. So if you go through timefall, you have to be like, all right, well, I better bring this repair spray, or you'll think, well, I better put a cover over this, so I have a little extra layers of protection, that sort of thing. So before each mission, and you can accept as many of these as you want at once. So it's all about efficiency and knowing what you need and what you are capable of as a person. So I'd usually go through the list. I'd be like, okay, this person wants this. It's 25 pounds, or I think it's in kilograms, but I don't care. This is 25 kilograms. This is a neighbor of this one, more or less. Not that much farther for me to take this over there. I'll do this one for 10 kilograms. This is a 50 kilo order. I'll do that one too, whatever. And then I'll load it all up on Sam or a bike, and then I'll just go. And from there, it's just traversing the world and making sure you don't drop packages. You don't break them by going through the timefall for too long. If you go in the timefall, there's also BTs in timefall areas. And if you encounter a BT, it's pretty much a game over, more or less, insta game over. Because that causes a void out. And so you have to restart. But usually if you just die, Sam can't die. That's a story beat we didn't really get to. his soul just leaves his body, and then you can just go right back in. Don't even ask. I don't know. You just go right back in there. You know, go right back in that body, and you're good. Then you have to pick up all your crap, though. If you die, so this is if you get shot by a mule or you fall down a cliff and freaking end your life, which has happened to me before. It was an accident. Accidental suicide. Honestly, the world is so, like, breathtaking as you're walking through it, and you just go, man. It's best played with a controller. I played it with a controller through both playthroughs. You've got some other tools you can bring with you. Here's what I always had on me. Ladders, because ladders can be placed vertically, or you can use them to get across rivers and gaps like that. The other thing I always had on me was repair spray. So there's the outside of the package that had a percentile that it could get damaged, and then there's the interior of the package, which you did not want to get damaged at all. The repair spray only repairs the outside. On the PC release, they had these gravity gloves from Half-Life Alyx. There was a crossover. I always had those on me. You could pick up packages like 15 meters, 15, 20 meters away. That's totally arbitrary. I don't know meters at all. Just from a distance, you could pick up these packages. Zoop. That was really useful. I always had the skeleton, the strong skeleton, exoskeleton, let you have like 150 pounds on you at all times. So I'd get these huge stacks on my back. And I also had PCCs. And PCCs, so earlier I was saying you can 3D print anything. So these PCC units, you can 3D print stuff from them. As long as you're within the internet bandwidth range. So every time you connect with someone and connect them to the country, to the internet, you get more bandwidth, and in that area you can 3D print stuff, and it uses materials from the surrounding areas. So you can make like bridges and whatever, and these will, in some other real humans game, they'll show up. This is the other thing. So those ladders I was talking about, that'll show up in someone else's video game. I liked zip lines. Using zip lines is the best way to play the game if you want to do as many jobs as humanly possible, get as many S ranks as humanly possible. Zip lines. So I'd always have a few PCCs, toss down a few zip lines, and other players would be able to use those zip lines. So, I mean, I was always had that stuff going on me. And boots. I always had 1 to 2 extra pairs of boots because there was durability on the boots. And once you run out of boot, then you start bleeding, and then you walk slow, and it's no good. So when I was playing the game, I would try to max rank the facilities. So you got 1 to 5 stars, 0 to 5 stars per facility. Once you get max rank at a facility, they'll usually give you a very game-changing item that will increase the ease of delivering things, places. Sometimes it was just cosmetics, like the Conan O'Brien station, you know, he gave you a hat that helped you swim, an otter hat, because he was married to a cosplayer or something. But yeah, there's always something though, and so I would max rank my trust or whatever with all the surrounding facilities that I could, and then I would work on, there's a massive highway that you can use vehicles on in one of the major areas, and you have to contribute a butt ton of resources to, but that is collaborative with other people online. So some of the road might already be built because someone else was, you know, working on the road before me, and then it just got transferred into my game. No idea how that works. So I was the guy that made the whole road. I think there was one section of road I didn't do, but in my save file, I did the whole road. But if I go back into that save file, Timefall will destroy all. Timefall destroys everything. And if you go in the game and you get to the very end, you'll find out that like some of those ladders you place in the very beginning, totally destroyed. So the game world is always changing, and by changing, I mean deteriorating. So, you know, that's just one of them things. And I say I use the zip lines. There's a lot of things I use that'll be like, oh, so you just kind of did the same game loop over and over and over again? Kind of. I did do a lot of stuff over and over and over again. Like getting in the truck, going on the highway, going to the location, going from that location to another location on the highway, getting on a bike, getting off the bike, going on the zip line, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, zip line all over the place. So once you get the zip lines, it's zip line heaven. Zip line, zip line, zip line. And that's kind of the gameplay loop, you know? You pick a job, you figure out how you're going to do the job, and then you set out and you do the job. And the whole time you got a beautiful, beautiful environment. I honestly do not think I've seen a more beautiful game. Crysis can go suck it. All right? Crysis can suck it. This game's more beautiful than Crysis. I don't know how they got the textures to look that good. There's some face animations that I'm like, all right, this is cheesy as heck. All right, this is cheesy. But just like looking at the moss, the rocks, some of the water textures aren't that great, but like the rock textures, wow. Just wow. Like, I cannot believe how good it looks. And I got this 1660 Ti that I'm pushing to its absolute limits. It's screaming at me, you know, what are you doing to me? You moron, I'm going to die. No, I'm just throwing this game in there. But it's fine on this 1660. Breathtakingly beautiful. 1080p. Breathtaking. 1080p game. Actually, I think I might be a 1440p gamer. I don't care. But the whole time you're going the beautiful environment. The soundtrack by Ludwig Forssell. My gosh, it's in the background right now. And man, I can't get enough of it. Can't get enough. The ambient soundtrack, this is good. But when you are just delivering packages, you're out there all by yourself, and then Kojima chooses to put on a track from one of the people he licensed to share music in the game, like Apocalyptica or Low Roar especially, will come on. And there's just this... I've never had such a strange emotional connection to a game. You'll just be out there all alone by yourself. And then this music will come on and you'll feel almost even lonelier. Like you're the only thing that even matters in all of existence. You're just delivering this package. This is going to sound absolutely insane. And that just, I don't know, the feelings that it brought from complete and utter like loneliness just speak to me. Just absolutely speak to me. And it's not like I'm completely a loner or a loser. I mean, I've got some friends, I've got some, family, I've got people that care about me and that sort of thing, but there's just this deep loneliness that I'm not sure I'll ever get rid of, And to that extent, playing Death Stranding connects with that part of me emotionally than anything else ever has. Incredible. I will play this game again, just so that I can experience those moments where it's just you and BB and nobody else. And the game furthers that kind of feeling of loneliness, like you're the only one by most of the NPCs, they're just holograms. You don't even talk to them. Right? You're just like, hey, I'm here to do a job. And they're like, all right, dude, do the job. Here it is. Go take this over to Port Knot City or whatever. And I'll be like, cool. There's a couple cutscenes and whatever, but yeah, it's just the absolute complete and utter loneliness that this game is able to deliver. So good. So good. Oh, man. And that's just what I can't get over. That's the reason I keep coming back, is because the emotional response that it generates from me is like, wow, I am a lone man in the universe. So cool. Very sublime. So let's talk about some stuff I didn't like. All right, because there is some things in here that I did not like, and I already told you Fragile. I did not like Fragile. Everyone talks about how the vehicles handle, right? You'll hit a tiny rock and it'll be like, you can't go over this rock, dude. And I think for the most part, a lot of that is actually fair. Because it's not that Kojima didn't program the bikes to hit the rocks, right? They didn't program the bike to be stupid. They wanted you to realize that you can't go over there with the bike. right? The bikes and the vehicles are mainly used on the roads. So I actually didn't have that much of a problem with vehicles, because you just have to understand their purpose in the overall scheme of the game design. And they could have been a little bit better about that, I guess, because there's some places you really can cheese your bike through, especially. I was okay with it. What I was not okay with was there's a few sections where, on PS4 specifically, I was trying to climb this mountain like I do in every video game, where I climb a mountain like an idiot, and then I got too high up and then I died, and then it was like I respawned kind of next to the mountain, or all my stuff fell down the mountain because I ran out of rope, so I fell to my death. Or I was trying to jump, and then it was like I rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled and rolled, and then I was dead. So I was like, wow. And then collecting those packages took me, no joke, that took me at least an hour. I remember that very vividly. Like, wow, what a terrible place to die, the freaking mountain. So I went back, though, and I put up there's a couple of signs you can throw down for other players to see, and I put like a big X and like a skull. Like, nobody should ever come over here. This is stupid. So there is a couple places where you can die that are kind of cheesy and they really feel unfair. But I think most of that is from me being an idiot and being like, if I go around this mountain in this very, very particular way, I won't have to deal with BTs or the terrorists. And I'll start going, and it'll be like, they clearly did not want me to be doing this. Okay. They want me to choose BTs or terrorists. And then I will continue to go anyway. And I think that's how I died. Let me pull up the worst line in the whole game. Oh, there it is. Oh. Okay, so this is a pinnacle moment. A pinnacle moment in the whole game. All right. Pinnacle. You found Amelie. You're on the beach. Spoilers after this, by the way. So Sam's like, how do we get back in the real world? Because they're on a beach, right? And from earlier when we were talking, I told you beaches are where people go when they die. And so Sam's like, how do we get back? And Amelie's like, we just run. The beach goes the whole way. And he's like, what? It's like, yeah, the beach goes the whole way. We'll just run back. I guess you can run back to the world of the living. Doesn't make any sense to me. And then she's like Mario and Princess Beach. Like Mario and Princess Beach. And then they run on the beach. They run on the beach together. There's a scene of them running on the beach. So they literally run on the beach together. And it's like a portrayal of the happily ever after. Mario and Princess Beach. I will not forgive for that line. I don't care. The context here is it's supposed to be some kind of commentary on, well, here's the perfect ending. Here's the video game ending. You found the girl. You get to run on home now. You get to run on home. A little stroll on the beach. You know, this is the video game ending. This is how video games usually end. It's happy and whatever. And then they get into some serious stuff. And Higgs actually does some fourth wall breaking stuff, and he starts talking about video games, and it's supposed to be this whole commentary thing. But I don't care who you are. Mario and Princess Beach. I hate it. I hate that line, and I won't be able to run away from it every time I play Death Stranding. Oh, gosh. And so that line, I hate that. I hate that line. The only other stuff that I might not really care about, there is a few like side characters. There's this artist, and she's dating like this junk man, this guy that collects junk. And I think that all the missions where you carry living humans across the world to another location, I hated those, because I'm like, dude, you got legs. But nope, they zip people up and they put them right on Sam's back. And I'm like, wow, what am I, a taxi? Human taxi? It narratively bothered me that Sam was like, all right, get on my back, dude. Let's go. They couldn't at least like follow you or like get on. Anyway, just dumb. And there's also a couple pieces of equipment that I never ended up using. Just like it all. Thermal pads, they're supposed to make it so that snowfall, which is time fall but snow, doesn't affect your gear as much, and I never needed them. I just didn't go into snowy areas, and I had repair spray, and that's what I did through that whole section. Power gloves, they make it so you can climb faster. Didn't really end up using those because I wasn't really climbing very much. Again, that's mostly useful in the snowy areas. Didn't really care. And the oxygen mask, I used that in actually like 2 areas in the whole game. 80 hours, 2 areas. It's not like I wished that they would spend more time with the oxygen mask because it's kind of annoying. Takes up a whole face slot. Has durability, all that stuff. Also, wading and swimming, there's a couple of areas that I was very not happy with because I just wasn't very good at walking around and wading and swimming. Here's a spoiler time. I have to speak on the last mission. Because the last mission, I think, is the ultimate emotional, like, roller coaster. Because you've done this whole game. You've had BB with you the whole game. And they're like, BB is failing. And you're like, what do you mean BB is failing? And they're like, because these babies, they're pretty much tools. And once a tool runs out of juice, what do? You get a new tool. You scrap the old tool, you don't need it. And so they're like, we have to dispose of this BB unit because it's failing. It's not detecting BTs anymore. And so your last mission is to take your BB pod to the incineration chamber. All right? And they play this really like emotional track over it. And the mission is the same route as the very first mission where you incinerated the president's body. Very same route. So it's like you're back to square one and you go through and it's just kind of this little emotional piece that's like, wow, like this is the end of the journey. This is really the end of the journey. And you take that BB pod and you take him up to the incinerator. You don't actually end up incinerating the baby. Sam actually takes the baby out of the pod, incinerates the empty pod, and the presumption is he's on the run and the baby's fine. They said the baby wouldn't survive coming out of the pod, but the baby survived. This is just one of those games, you know, I can't recommend this to anybody. There's not a single soul on the face of the planet where I can be like, you would enjoy Death Stranding. And I don't know anybody that would want to sit down for 2 hours and get on zip lines and go from place to place just to deliver stuff. Fetch quests, right? I could almost describe the game as, it's almost like fetch quests. But the glue that holds it all together, the environments are beautiful. I've always been one to enjoy games with beautiful environments. Skyrim, there was that fast travel system, never used it. I just enjoyed walking places. I've always enjoyed walking places in games. And fetch quests have never really bothered me either. But on top of that, we have just this new IP, this world is so interesting to me. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and then it doesn't make sense that I like it when I don't even know that half of the things that are going on. Because it doesn't make sense. But like this fresh take on this weird sci-fi world is kind of gripping. And while I might not like some of the characters and especially some of the dialogue, I find myself I really enjoyed listening to them and their little conversations because there's something really human about them. But they're just well written and well done. And maybe it's because you don't see real people in the game for a long time. So when you finally do see someone in a story cutscene, it's like, wow, okay. I'm actually interested in what's going on. But just like journeying, walking around and experiencing the environment. And especially those emotional points where they start playing a low roar track or whatever to really sell that you are alone. You're the only guy out there doing this package thing. And every once in a while you may come across somebody, but it's not like, you know, it's not like they're going to hang out with you. And man, and also just all the user stuff where you find these little buildings from other players, and just so good. It's just good stuff. It's such a strange combination. I think if Death Stranding was missing any aspect, if it was missing the story, it wouldn't be a good game. If it was missing the gameplay, I don't think it would be very good either. If it was missing the charm of anything else, I don't think it would be a good game. But I think there's something so perfectly done with it that it's all these components fit together so perfectly somehow that it's made this masterpiece to me. Like, if it didn't have those emotional highs and lows, I don't think it would be as good a game. But there's just something about the combination of everything that makes Death Stranding as a masterpiece for me personally, and that's why I can't really recommend it. Because I'm not sure that any other human soul on this planet would look at it in the same way I look at it. That would look at the emotional beats, the gameplay, the story, the world building, and they would be as interested as I am. Because it's daunting, man. The first 8 hours is a slog. The first 8 hours is when you don't have a bike. They start introducing the bike and the areas and some of the best tools in the whole game after 8 hours. And if I tell somebody that, like, dude, this is a 40-hour thing, I rushed 40 hours. I had that PS4 on loan when I first played the game. So I was rushing as fast as I could. 40 hours. Through all the story stuff. 40 hours. 80 hours to platinum. Can't recommend it. But I will keep buying it. I will keep playing it. The experience is just uniquely, emotionally, personally connecting for me. So maybe that's helped you understand a little bit more about someone who likes Death Stranding. That's going to do it for this episode of Void Arcade. I'm your host, Brando Calrissian. You've been listening to the Death Stranding soundtrack by Ludwig Forsell in the background, and I will see you later. Okay, thanks, and goodbye.